Hey everybody, it is Chris Widener, and I'm here with Chris Pirillo, our tech coach for 12 Coaches, and he is huge on Twitter. How many fans, followers,
122,000.
peeps? 122.
Yeah.
I want you to know I am.
And verified.
I
I'm a verified name.
Oh really?
Yeah,
All right.
a huge deal.
I am on your heels at 116,800.
I'm still verified.
Okay. Verified.
Well, no, it's actually a bigger deal than I thought.
Okay, well, you and I can talk about that some other time. In the meantime, I want you to
Not
tell.
his ego. No, but it's not his ego. It has nothing to do with ego, Chris. You want my top 3 Twitter tips?
I do want your. That's where we're going with this. I want your top 3 Twitter tips. Tell us.
Number 1, get verified. No, that's actually a very difficult
Well, okay,
process.
so let's just start with this, and then give me the 3 Twitter tips.
Right.
Does every business need a Twitter account?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
In fact, you could probably make that a tip.
Joe's Mechanics.
Absolutely. And the reason why is because even if you don't want it, there are people out there who are looking for it. The first thing when I'm looking to engage with a business, the first thing I do is I go to Google and I do a search for the business name Twitter. Or I might be on Twitter and do a search for the business name to see, are they active? Because it's a great way of engaging for customer service, and that's the number one reason you would want to be on Twitter, customer service.
So you know what? I've been in the airplane and had a problem in the airplane.
And you tweeted them?
And tweeted to the customer service and gotten a response. Alaska Air, I'll give them a shout out. I'm not always happy with them. They're my favorite airline, but I'm not always happy with them. But I've tweeted from the airplane and they're responding back. And then one time, actually, the flight attendant, they must have called the pilot or the flight attendant. So she comes down, oh, hey, we're sorry, here's a free drink kind of thing.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, if
It can
you
work.
can use the customer service.
Well, you got to be careful. You don't want to make everything you do on Twitter to be like, well, he's just a blowhard, and all he's looking for is a free drink.
I wonder if I complain at 30,000 feet if I can get a free drink out of these people.
So you got to be.
Tag Alaska Airlines.
Well, but there are times that I will use it to vent, like, oh my god, this happened. I don't know what's going on. And the smarter businesses saw that, and they definitely engaged with the customer. Right. But in terms of, again, I would use that actually as a number 1 tip.
Be on Twitter.
Just be there.
Okay.
I mean, even if you don't want to be there, other people want you there for a reason.
Yeah.
Or you're losing out on so much attention.
People say to me sometimes, "Why would I have a Twitter account or Facebook account? Why should I have a Twitter or Facebook account?" I'm like,
it's a non-issue.
Or they'll
Why
say,
should you be on the internet?
They say, "I don't have a Twitter account," and I say, "What? Do you hate money?" I mean, is that what it is? You just hate money. You don't want to be where anybody else is. You don't want to sell your wares anywhere.
It's not just selling though. It's well, but it can be, and it's a great tool to engage. But
we're not in the business. We're not in the business of just having 100,000 friends, right?
Right.
We're in the business of ultimately gathering a group of people who we can do commerce with.
Right.
That's why they call it business.
The end game.
Right.
So the value of being there is more for somebody else than it is for you, and you've really got to think deeply about that customer service issue, because you could turn so many customers around. And as a matter of fact, I posted a review of my favorite hair salon here in town to Yelp. Didn't think anything of it. And then a random person tweeted and included my name and said, I was looking for a salon at Chris Pirillo, posted his favorite review, so that's where I'm going. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, someone actually, and it's a woman, female, and everything. I'm like, this is weird. I don't know who this person is, but they took that into account to how they were going to do, business. Yeah. So, even though this hair salon isn't on Twitter, they're on Yelp. There was enough connection made in the social construct that the velocity that I had and the value I had with my attention, and the fact that I have a lot of credibility, even if my background isn't necessarily in haircuts.
But you didn't until you were verified.
Right.
Once you were verified.
Okay, so here's why it's okay. Let's.
I'm never going to let you forget.
I know, but here's why. When the next reason you want the second Twitter tip is search. Or maybe this is probably the 3rd or 4th at this point. I don't know. I've lost count. Search is very important. When someone's looking for information on a business, a name, a product, anything, they're going to go to Twitter and they're going to look. They're going to look for, attention, news, engagement, anything. Search. Number 1 reason to be using Twitter, because people are saying things and you want to know what they're saying. You want to be able to tap into that, because either these are people who are complaining about you, they're the people who love you, they're the people who are doing X, Y, and Z. You want to be tapped into the live part of the internet, and Twitter is the best place to do that at this point.
Yeah, I was just looking. I will sometimes search at Chris Widener.
Right.
And then that brings up everything that I've said or whatever. And then I just sometimes will search my name, Chris Space Widener.
yeah.
And I saw a whole other world of
Yep.
people who were quoting me, or they
Yep.
just saw me speak, or something like that.
Big deal.
Yeah,
And, I mean,
yeah.
I do this. I do ego searches all the time. It's not a problem because that's how you find out. In fact, most of the people who don't use my handle are the people who are upset at me for one reason or another, and I'll have a chance to say, you know, what's going on? You know, I'm sorry. What, you know, can I help
Did you not notice I was verified?
So here's why that's important. And I thought, you know, it's
Yeah.
verified. It's not a big deal. I usually give it out to people who have notoriety. But the reason why it's important is because of search. When you're verified, if you type something in, if you've keyed something in, verified users pop up or they show up higher in those search results
Interesting.
than anybody else. So and here's the thing, not everybody can be verified. You have to have, you know, a very heavy amount of notoriety.
Yeah.
But that's the number one value is because of search. So I know that if I'm using keywords or tagging and doing these things, I know my results are going to show up higher in the search results on Twitter than anybody else's because of that little verified tag. That is why it's important.
All right,
Not
one
because
more
of
good
ego.
tip. One more good tip.
You know,
What about messaging? Keep it short.
Well, of course.
Ask questions.
Not every,
how do you
okay,
engage?
so,
How do you engage
okay,
your audience?
Here's the third one. Not every tweet has to have a link. Not every tweet has to be a selling point. I mean, you can. I post, you know, random things all the time, really quick. Questions I get all the time. Should I buy the iMac or should I buy this PC? And I keep saying them. If you want an iMac, get an iMac. There's only the only iMac competitor is an iMac. Period. And so that was tweetable. You know, the only iMac competitor is an iMac. And people saw it and they understood what it was. So I got, you know, 30 some odd retweets. I'm like, yeah, it's a really good quote. Retweet. And so not everything you put out there has to have a link that sends people off somewhere else. Doesn't have to include an @ sign. Doesn't have to include a hashtag.
Right. In fact, it probably shouldn't.
Just mix it up.
And don't be just selling all the time.
No.
Yeah, that kind of thing. But biggest tip for you folks is if you're not on Twitter, get on Twitter. Good tips. Thanks, Chris.